Welcome back, Razorback Nation, to this next installment of Razor Recap, your go-to destination for the latest updates on Arkansas football. Join us as we break down thrilling moments, highlight standout performances from the game, and discuss strategies that kind of shaped the game. And before we dive in, Razorback Recap is brought to you by Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you're in the Northwest Arkansas area, you can check out Core Brewery Tap Room as well, where they have Scarlet Letter in all this various flavors on tap, as well as their house-made beer. So go check them out today. And man, I tell you, Arkansas got the win yesterday, but it was not a pretty game at all.
I don't care if it's pretty, man. As long as it's a W. I don't care. I don't care if they throw 5 picks as long as they get the win. You know, that's the thing about Auburn is, man, they tried. They did everything to give it away to us, and then Arkansas. It's just like that Oklahoma State game, except Arkansas wasn't as dominant at the beginning, but they just found a way to get to the end of the game, and their number on the scoreboard is bigger than Auburn's. And that's what you got to do sometimes in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's like you hate to see an ugly win, but on like we said before, a win's a win. And, you know, going into this week against Texas A&M, you're 3-1, and in a decent spot for this time of the season. We want to have confidence going into next week, or this week, I guess, technically. But when you start breaking down this game tape, and Seth and I talked about this a little bit last week, I'm on the fence on, do I become concerned about Taylon's play as far as the passing game the past 2 weeks? Because you look at him this week, 12 of 27, 151 yards. A little bit better. Last week, you know, going into halftime, he had 3 completions. And, you know, it just seems like that carried over a little bit this week about some inaccuracy issues. I mean, what do you think going forward? Is this something we can expect out of him, or do you think he's kind of just trying to break out of a little bit of a funk that he's in just over these past 2 games?
No, I mean, this is kind of something you saw with him at Boise State. He's going to have games that are great, like the Mountain West Conference Championship last year. He threw like 250 yards-ish, had a great like 60. It almost looked like the 58-yard pass to Satania yesterday, except the tight end was wide open for Boise State. He'll hit stuff like that, and then he'll have games like he did against UAB in a little bit like yesterday. I feel like he did better yesterday. But no, I feel like it's going to be something that's going to happen along the way. You're going to be like, what the heck is he doing? And the crazy thing about that is that his legs can make up for that. Now, I know everybody's going to be like, we're tired of hearing about his legs. We want to see him throw passes. Well, how many of y'all were loving Matt Jones 20 years ago? You know, the best comp for him isn't, you know, Lamar Jackson or anything like that. It's Matt Jones, because Matt Jones, for as great as an athlete as he was, had not a great arm. And I was a kid whenever he was playing for the Hogs, but growing up, I hear about how just great of a talent he was and how much better he was in the game. And then in his practices, he just kind of, you know, was here or there, hit or miss. And the thing about Taylon is that most of the time, I feel like he's doing very, very well in practice. So at least he's got that going for him. He's got Bobby Petrino back there trying to coach him up. And, you know, he was pulled in the third quarter, which Shane Pittman told us he was cramping a little bit. And that pass that he threw to Andrew Armstrong, he's done it 2 or 3 times this year, and it's looked beautiful each time. He did it against UAB, and it just looked like he was a little tight, and I think that might have been why. But also, I mean, he's thrown 2 picks. Let him sit out for a little bit and have him come back in. And I think the good thing about that was that you have all these like haters online. There's one, I'm not even going to say their names, but it's a, you know, their media, not media like real media, but their fans who do stuff. Man, they just hate him, and I understand because sometimes he's not very good in the passing game, but he's just got an explosion, a tendency to explode at any time, whether it's a run or he can hit those long passes or just make plays like he did against Auburn. So I think him going out and then seeing Malachi Singleton go out and throw out the feet of Andrew Armstrong kind of quieted him just a little bit. And I'm kind of glad for that because I'm tired of hearing it. It's 4 games in, bro. Just calm down. He's going to have troubles, but right now, I mean, I think he gives us the best shot to win, even if he can't hit 50% of his throws all the time, which is crazy to say, but he's that kind of athlete, and he's that kind of a big deal. Now, I'm not saying Malachi Singleton's bad or anything. I think he's like the next guy, right? He looks just crisp and clean. And I think saying that his performance was bad is a little bit unfair, but I'm just saying, like, right now, I don't think he's the guy I think is going to be Taylor Green. By game 7, it might be different. Who knows? But I'm just saying, like, right now, going into Texas A&M, throughout last night's game, Taylor Green's the guy, and that's just what we're going to have to deal with. In the meantime, it's just good we have a great running game. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree there. I mean, you look at it too. It's one of those things where, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on here too. The pass protection has been spotty throughout these first 4 games. Run blocking has been pretty good. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Taylor is running towards, having to be flushed out of the pocket several times. And so that's something that I think needs to be improved. But the one thing that concerns me that I don't know if it's tangible for the entire season is you look at last game and this game. Last game, Taylor has 17 carries. This game, 18 carries. At what point, he's carrying the ball so much, does he get hit and go down because he's running so much? That's my only concern with how much he uses his legs and how much it's great. He can get out of bad situations, spark something. And maybe if we're 3rd and long and, there's nothing there, he can get the first down and do great things. But at what point does the flip side of that and that actually hurts him? And, he got banged up, didn't miss any time, but took some pretty good shots yesterday. While running the ball,
good shots too, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
I mean, he went full AP on that. I don't know if he was a defensive back or a linebacker, but man, that was insane. And I do too. I worry about that. I don't know what it is about Arkansas quarterbacks and wanting to dive into the end zone. But man, that was scary. And then again, he didn't dive. He just got clipped and he kind of somersaulted.
Spun around.
Well, that one he dove or spun and he was up in the air and then got turned around. But the one on the opposite end where he wasn't even trying to go for the end zone. I think he was trying to get a little bit extra yardage and he got clipped and he did just like legs full up in the air, somersault, landed on his head, that kind of thing. And that's he's just got to be careful, With KJ Jefferson last year, I wasn't as worried because the dude's like 250 pounds and 6'3" and could just run through your face. Taylor Green's big, but he's not that kind of big.
I was about to say, he's a lot more leaner than KJ was.
Yeah. Yeah, he's leaner. He's a little bit more lanky, I guess, but he's also 6'6". I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, it's just especially like just how big of a target his knees are. That it just worries me watching him take those type of hits. And I'm glad that he started sliding. I didn't know if he knew how to do that for a while, but he finally started doing it. I think probably Bobby Trino got in his ear and said, hey, stop that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
Hey, I need you healthy, so let's start sliding the ball instead of taking those hits or trying to jump over
right.
guys.
But to get back on the offensive line, though, like I said, I'm agreeing with you. There's I think they're doing better on one-on-one stuff, but for some reason they just can't figure out where to pick up guys, especially if they blitz two on one side. So if you have, um, let's say, a linebacker coming, and then you have like that nickel or a corner coming, um, a lot of them will like just go off and get the guy on the outside because I don't know, maybe there's just some kind of miscommunication, or like I was telling you earlier, a little bit too much in communication. Um, on the first drive on that 3rd and 9, right before they kicked the field goal, um, Taylor Green got sacked, and Joshua Braun's over there talking to his center. Maybe he's trying to tell him something, but he turns back and he's there for a moment, and then the ball snapped. And for whatever reason, he's looking back inside when that play side linebacker is blitzing, and then he completely whiffs. He tries to get there a little too late, and they make the sack. So I don't know what it is, really. If it's too much communication, not enough communication, or something in the coaching, but you gotta wonder why it's not fixed after a couple of years of this happening. Especially, and Joshua Braun, he was on last year's team, and if I don't want to pick on him or anything because Marion Harris has done his fair share. But yeah, I don't know, man, and I don't think that thing is. I'm not sure what the comment said. Can you pull it back up? Yeah, I don't think it's MIA. I just think they have a problem with that, and then defenses are exploiting it. And Mateos has got to do a better job of that. And then, I mean, Coach Pittman, he's been there. He said he's the highest paid GA in the country. So, I mean, he needs to figure out what the heck's going on there. Why are they coming through the middle just so easy, And the thing about it is that these teams are selling out to stop the run game, and that's what's happening. You're having these guys blitz all the time, 5-6 guys, and they're trying to make Taylor Green beat him with his arm, but it's not working because Taylor Green can just escape, and then he can beat you with his legs. So I'm not sure why anybody hasn't just like dropped 8 yet. Maybe they see something better where he can pick out zone better than he can pick out man. I don't know. I don't get paid enough to watch all that stuff, but still, I don't know. That offensive line problem is it's just got to get fixed, man. And
Yeah,
to be honest, that's really the biggest thing that's missing from this offensive line because their run blocking is really good, like really, really good. So I
I was
don't.
about to say you have Jaquan Jackson that's leading the SEC in
Yeah,
rushing behind this
lead.
offensive line. So, like you said, if they can just tweak and figure out what needs to be done on that pass blocking, I mean, you're right there from, I feel like almost breaking through and having that complete, set to give Talon some time. And like you said, do you look at nothing against anybody, but do you look at maybe shuffling somebody on that side around, Josh Braun's an experienced guy, but do you throw somebody else in there and see what, can switching it up help? I mean, Pittman's talked about it, especially when Addison Nichols was potentially questionable. You've got guys that like Joe Moore, that's an experienced guy that transferred in, as well as, you mentioned Marion Harris, but he's having to start in place of Patrick Kudus. That's, as far as we know, it's out TBD. So you don't have a lot of guys, but, is there anything you can do to kind of maybe help out, with those issues?
I don't think it's a personnel problem. I really don't. Like I said, one-on-ones, they're doing great. They're doing a lot better than did last year, especially the tackles. Now they have problems too. I think it's more of a mental thing, and when you play at a lower level like Carmona and Well, Black Sox started at Michigan State. Did he come from Michigan State too?
Yeah, he transferred over.
Okay.
It was
He
weird
never
midseason last year after the whole
right.
coaching scenario
Oh,
went on.
yeah. I think there was something with NIL too. But, no, I don't think he ever played for them though, right? He didn't start. I mean, not played, but he didn't start.
I don't think he started, but I think he
I don't
played
think he
some.
started either. Yeah, so I feel like there's just a little bit of that, difference, just the difference between SEC play versus where they were or how much they got at their previous schools.
Right.
Joshua
Getting used
Braun,
to a little bit
on
of
the
the
other hand,
physicality. Because
right,
Josh Braun came from Florida, so he knows all about the SEC,
and
play.
and again, I'm not trying to pick on him, right? I think this is a problem all across the line. I don't know, man. It's there. Maybe the rules are too complicated in the passing game. I don't know. I feel like it's either a coaching problem or a communication problem. I don't think it's going to be a personnel problem.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. And maybe they're still, as far as the offensive line, still figuring out some of those ins and outs of, the Petrino offenses. We know it can be very complicated with, maybe some of the blocking schemes they have. And maybe they're just still figuring out as we go. And we'll just have to see, like you said, we've got some, you had your first glimpse of SEC play this week. You've got Texas A&M coming up. We're about to hit the heart of the schedule here in the next few weeks with A&M. Then you come back home and you play, Tennessee. So those are going to be some games where these SEC defensive lines are going to come out and hit you in the mouth, and you've got to be able to protect Talon, or we're going to probably see another healthy dose of 17 to 20 carries from Talon again if he can't stand back there in the pocket and be able to distribute the ball. But like you said, on the flip side of that, at least we've got that run blocking going really well. We had Jaquindon Jackson, 22 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You even saw 9 carries from Braylon Russell, which was a nice surprise compared to the first 3 games of the season. 9 carries, 22 yards. Rodney Hill, 3 carries, 14 yards. So I think as we continue on, we'll see a little bit more rotation. These guys kind of keeping guys' legs fresh. And I think that's what you need to do, especially like we mentioned before the show. When you got a running back room with the depth that we have, I mean, when you rotate these guys, it doesn't really drop off. I mean, and just imagine whenever, we can assume it's health related. Rashad Dominion's back. That just adds another weapon that you can throw in there alongside these other guys. So,
yeah, man, Braylon Russell looks dominant sometimes out there. Like when he had that first big run where he got hit like 2 yards past. Well, it wasn't a run; it was a pass. He caught a pass on the outside, and he got hit like at the 2+ yard line, and he carried people for another 5 or 6 yards. And they're like, "That guy's a freshman," and I'm like, "Yeah, that guy's a freshman." And then later in the game, he had that big run up the middle and smoked that DB. I would like to see him do more like a Leonard Fournette and keep going after that. But like you said, he's a freshman, so no, that's
I think he'll
exciting.
get better week after week.
You're right, and I think getting him more carries is going to help Jaquindon Jackson a little bit more, just to stay healthy. Right, I don't think giving more touches to Braylon Russell or Rodney Hill is going to necessarily diminish his production. As long as they still give him like the lion's share of carries, but it's going to change the way the defense plays every single time because those 3 backs are completely different. You got like a Traylon Smith type back who's like smaller and speedy and can cut, but he can also run your butt over too. And then you have the complete opposite was Russell, and then Jaquindon Jackson, which has he's just like a stereotypical like pro style running back.
He's your good pro style 3-down back.
Right.
He can run it up the middle between tackles, or also, he has the speed to bounce it outside as well. So, I mean, it's like they described it with the commentators yesterday. Late in the game, they're like, you're getting a little bit of dose of thunder and lightning between, you bring Jaquindon coming in, and then you bring Big Brother and Russell in. That, like you said, that DB found out what he was all about pretty quickly, right up the middle. He's going to run you over. So,
yeah, and it's good to have that type of weapons, and then throw in Taylon Green on top of that, and I mean, it's pretty crazy what they can do, the different looks they can give you. They can line up an I formation and run it down your throat, or they can go super spread and do a lot of outside zone or split zone read stuff. And I mean, they're just going to try and make you wrong no matter what. And I feel like that's what they try to do in the passing game too. If you listen to, I think, Cole Kublik and Colt McCoy, I think it was Colt McCoy. They have a podcast, and they had Trent Dilfer, saying that right, UAB's head coach, on, and they talked about what Auburn could do to stop Arkansas, especially in the passing game. And he said that Arkansas has the offense to beat zone, which I didn't think was exactly fair, because everyone they've played has been zone defense teams. They really hadn't played anyone that plays a lot of man until yesterday. I still think he had a good scheme. So I didn't think it was fair to say that before Bobby Petrino, game plan for it. But maybe he was a little right. Maybe Taylon Green is a little bit better at picking out zone than he is with man, especially when you have one or two guys in your face. So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I lost my point.
Yeah, I get it, but I think you're just talking about how he's talking about the game plan going into Auburn. Like, what do you do against Taylor with them just coming off a week of playing him? And I saw a similar article that they talked to Trent Dilfer. They're like, like after that game, they were talking about what do you do, or like what was his game plan. And he was talking about, he was like, you can't just go in there, and the metaphor of like, Arkansas's got a samurai sword as far as their weapons. And he was talking about, you can't just go in there and try to hit them with 2 or 3 big blows. The way that Dilfer tried to, he described his approach was death by 1,000 cuts. Hit them with a bunch of quick hit plays, that, 10 yards here, and we saw them do that. They were, shredding our defense a little bit there in the first half by those quick hit small plays, not for going for the home run plays. That, like he said, that you're not going to beat, especially coming from a UAB team, this a more talented Arkansas team, by just trying to hit the home run plays like that. The way they were beating us in that first half was those quick hit, short intermediate plays, whether it be a pass play or a quick run play. And that had our defense kind of on its heels a little bit.
Yeah, and the defense came out and they were pretty much sleepwalking that first game, or that game against UAB. So yeah, they came out on fire yesterday. They're obviously playing for their defensive coordinator. They wanted to put on a good show for him, but also, I mean, you had TJ Metcalf that just went completely off, right? Which is a great surprise, because now you got some more guys that you feel a little bit more comfortable with, especially having like Hudson Clark and Jalen Braxton out. He was a part of 4 of Auburn's 5 turnovers. He caught 2 interceptions. He had the tip that went to Danico Slaughter, and he also forced that fumble at the left end zone. So, I mean, that he had an incredible night. And
not to mention, he had it in 2 pass breakups and 4 tackles as well.
Right. And second leading tackler, which is crazy. If you looked at that, it feels like I think every single person had solo tackles, just solo tackles, which is a little bit concerning to me, because one of the things I like to see in a defense is people swarming to the ball. Now, I don't know if they just didn't, score it great during the game, but man, that's kind of weird how there were so many people who had tackles, but every single one of them had solo tackles, no assisted, which
Yeah.
again, I don't know if that's weird. That's correct, but still, second leading tackler behind Nico Slaughter, and he just played lights out. And in the post game press conference, they asked about it being personal because he's from Alabama, and he talked about how Auburn never gave him an offer or anything. And I'm just like, man, that's the type of stories that are just awesome. People coming back. One, you have one guy who was there and he's coming back there to, beat them. And then you have one guy who never had the chance to go there and is coming back there to beat them. So I don't know. It was just a kind of a cool story all the way around. And the reason why Arkansas won that game is because of the defense. I mean, you can say
there's a reason T. Will got the game ball.
Right. That's true. And you can say, well, Auburn tried to give it away, but at the same time, you can't. There was maybe one or two of those passes that were intercepted that were just stupid plays. That one to Jaden Johnson in the second quarter, that was a stupid play. I don't know what he was seeing, but I mean that play, that first interception, the tip ball. That was great because one, you got to get up there and tip it, and two, you got to come down with it. So that's a lot of stuff that the defense did to put them in a position to win. And so, like, I don't want to hear any of that. Well, Auburn gave it away. Nah, Arkansas took it away. Okay, that fumble, he was 5 yards away from making a touchdown, and I don't care if he had the little chicken wing out there. Yeah, that is something they train to do. That's something that they talked about before the UAB game, and it took them a game to manifest into something on the field, but it finally did. So that, I don't know, man. The defense just looked really, really, really crisp and really good. Now you had like that 68-yard pass.
You had a couple breakdowns, but
yeah, and that one, I don't know really what happened on the one that was to the home sideline, where he made that one-handed nice catch, but the one that slant that broke all the way for a touchdown, Jaden Johnson just he's a little bit too aggressive, and he actually went past the wide receiver whenever he made his cut, and it was just all downhill from there. And there's a lot of people who were talking about TJ Metcalf not doing a good enough job on that play. Well, he was the other side of the field safety. I mean, he wasn't anywhere close to the ball. Yeah, he was the closest.
But on that play, they specifically called out, if you were listening to them talking about the game, they were playing zero coverage there, meaning they didn't have anybody back playing that free safety spot, if you will. They didn't have anybody back behind the defense that far. So, the idea was for it not to get that far, but like you said, right. Johnson was aggressive on that, tried to get there to bat down that pass. A little aggressive on it. Pass gets completed. There's nobody there to catch him. So,
yeah, the way that he came down on it, I think he thought it was a curl or something, and it ended up being a slant, and he just got beat on it. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, that's going to happen. It's the hardest position to play. Give them a little bit of a break, especially whenever you bring as many people as Travis Williams does. The fact that they are actually really decent at defending the pass game, which they hadn't been in the last couple of weeks, but last year they were for most of the season until they played Auburn and Missouri at the end. But that's incredible to bring that many people and still be pretty good at defending the pass. So, Travis Williams, like, I know it's not going to be popular for people, But if Sam Pittman does leave or ends up leaving, I would hate to see him go, dude. And he deserves to be a head coach. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's never done it, blah, 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 this and that and the other. But man, he is a motivator of men, right? He can lead some people. And that's what a good head coach does. So if it were to come to it and they couldn't get anybody else, I would not mind whatsoever giving him a shot at the head coaching position.
I was about to say, if that was the case, you promote him up and then you keep Petrino on as your OC. I mean, a lot of people talk about Petrino being the next head coach. I don't think he wants to be a head coach again. And that may be weird to say. That's just what I got from listening to his press conference early, before season got kicked off, where they asked him about NIL and all that stuff. And he's like, oh, well, he's like, Coach Pittman handles all that NIL stuff and everything. He lets me coach football. He said, I just get to worry about football. So I don't think that he necessarily wants to, be that guy that's going to have to handle, on top of coaching football, dealing with working with NIL, all the recruiting and things like that goes into being the head coach nowadays. And that's why I think if you do go that route, you stay internal. That way you can, if you stay internal, you lose the risk of guys leaving. You promote Travis Williams up, who's a great defensive coordinator, has been a great recruiter we've seen these past few years. You keep a guy like Bob Petrino on staff, that he's the offensive mind, the guru there that can run your offense while you focus on, your side of the ball, your kind of specialty, if you will. And like you said, I'm with you there. He's one of my picks to, if we get to that point where there is a coaching change, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, how else is anybody going to get their start if they're not given their chance somewhere?
Right. And the problem is convincing the fan base, one, and then convincing donors, two, and in the board. So
there's a lot that goes into it.
Because, I mean, if, God forbid, I know people aren't going to like that, Sam Pittman doesn't make it to the end of the season, that's going to be 3 hires in a row that have been pretty much lame duck hires. So, I mean, they're going to want to try to throw some money at people, or either just give up on the football program completely. And I'm hoping it's the former. But if they do that, they're not going to spend that money on Travis Williams. But if it is the latter, why not give him a chance, man? I just really, really, really like him.
Yeah, I agree. But back to, what we're talking about with defense there. Defense as a whole played great yesterday. But through these first 4 games, how would you rate the D-line getting pressure so far this season? I mean, if you look at this game, the D-line specifically, you had Nico Davier have one of the 2 sacks on the day. Other than that, everybody keeps right. And the big question I think everybody's asking, and I'm starting to wonder too, where is Landon Jackson? He's getting doubled a lot and chipped a lot, but I mean, with a guy that's as talented as he is, he still should be able to get back there and I feel like cause some havoc, if you will.
I don't know how they score these QB hurries, but he was back there 2 or 3 times and flushed. I'm pretty sure flushed Hank Brown and Peyton Thornton out of the pocket. So I don't know how they score these, but he didn't get anything from yesterday, and I know for fact that he did. So if you're going based on the stats, I don't think it's fair. But yes, he has been getting double teamed, but yesterday and then at the end of the UAB game, he was there all the time. He was in the backfield. He was forcing some stuff to go one way or another. Just because you don't get stats as a defensive lineman doesn't mean you're not good, right? So especially if you have great linebackers, what you're going to do is you're going to fill up those gaps and you're going to take as many bodies with you, or you're going to make sure that defensive or that offensive player goes to where those other athletes are, right? It's kind of like playing the edge as a corner. You don't want to let them get on the outside of you. You want to force them back inside. That's what you do on the defensive line, especially in the run game, right? So I don't think that's necessarily like looking at tackles and stuff like that. But yeah, there comes a point to when you're like, come on, man, get a sack, at least one. Even if there's two guys, it feels like just one should break his way, right? Especially if we think he is as good as he is, or if he is as good as we think he is. But I think another thing that's going to help is if you have other guys that step up, and if Davier can do that, if he can be that other guy, then they're going to have to stop doing that. They're going to have to stop double teaming Jackson, and it's going to make this defensive line better. Yesterday, I thought they did pretty well. I don't think, like I said, there is one QB hurry from Nico, right? That's great, but the pressure, the way that they made them get out of the pocket or force them to throw a little bit early, that they're doing a lot better right now than they did, say, against Oklahoma State. To be fair, Oklahoma State's offensive line has been together for 10 years now, but I don't know. The defensive line, I feel like they're getting better every single week, and that's all you can really ask, right, from the start to now. And they're going to need them against a very, very not good Texas A&M team. I mean, if you can go in there and cause havoc in the backfield, I don't think they're going to score a point, right? They're just not very good on the offensive side of the ball. On the other hand, defense is pretty darn good.
I was about to say, I think that's the one thing that's, what they got going for them, and not getting into it too much, but I'm just very surprised that the A&M is hovering right there around that bottom of the top 25. I think they moved up to 24 this week. But because when you look at it, they only beat Bowling Green by 6 points yesterday.
Yeah.
They did switch quarterbacks. Wegman is not the starter anymore. You've got Reed in there that came in and got the start against Florida, got them a win on the road at Florida. But we all know what kind of dumpster fire Florida is right now, and he gets the start this week. They get the win, but I don't know. It just feels like, I don't want to use the word overrated, but it seems they're always hyped up going into the year, especially with over the past few years. You look at just because of how well they've recruited, and they've made a little bit of a name for themselves. But this season so far, what the AP poll, the people that put in their votes, like, I don't see what they're seeing.
All right, I'll say they're overrated. They're the Ohio State of the SEC conference, FCC. They're just continuously every single year overrated, and it's one because they have a lot of money, and two because they recruit well. But they haven't ever done anything. So Ohio State has done stuff, but the biggest comp for me is them, because I think Ohio State's always overrated. This year, I think they're pretty darn good, but no, yeah. I don't think they're a top 25 team. I think that if Arkansas does the things they need to do, especially on defense, that they could come out of Arlington with a win. Speaking of that, I don't know if you're looked that far ahead in the schedule, but the next week, whenever Tennessee comes to town, there's not very many good games going on. There's Arkansas, Tennessee, there's Mizzou, and who is that? Texas A&M. And then there's Cal and Miami, I think. And that's and Cal lost yesterday, didn't they? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Cal, yeah, so that doesn't even look super great. So, but that would mean 3 SEC teams or venues in a row. You think they would do that, or are they going to go somewhere else just to stay away from the SEC? The safe from the mob of people who hate the SEC, saying there's a bias and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. I mean, I mean, if you look at it, like you said, looking ahead, say Arkansas does come out of A&M with that victory, you're sitting at 4-1, and you quote unquote beaten a top 25 team and took Oklahoma State down to the wire, who's another ranked team.
Right.
Does that entice
Really
you
should have
enough?
won that game.
Right. And does that entice them enough with a ranked Tennessee, top 5 ranked Tennessee coming to town? Does that make you, I don't know.
Well, it's
Like you
not.
said,
Well, they'll announce it before Arkansas plays the game on Saturday. I'm pretty sure.
right.
So yeah, if they're gonna choose right now, they're probably gonna choose Missouri and Texas A&M if it has to be between those three. But if Arkansas beats Texas A&M, they're gonna look silly because it's not gonna look good. That game between them. Well, the thing is, Missouri's. I don't know about Missouri either, man. They're
I was
over
about to
there
say, when I
getting.
said I wasn't going to say A&M was overrated earlier, because I was saving that for Missouri. Because if you watched the game yesterday, they got taken to overtime by Vanderbilt, which, to be fair, is
Yeah.
not the normal Vanderbilt of old that we've seen. They look decent this year,
Good.
but they're still not like, if you're Missouri and you're wanting to say you're deserving of a top 10 ranking like they were last week, not anymore. They dropped
Yeah.
out, but you can't struggle with a Vanderbilt team like that at home.
Yeah.
Like I've said all season, I'm not saying they're not a good team, but I think they're overrated in the sense of they're not top 10 material that I've seen yet. I haven't seen that from them this year.
The thing is, like, I want to say they're not a college playoff team, right? But when you look at their schedule, it's just so dang easy, and it's the path for them to get there is pretty simple. They're still going to have to go through Alabama and OU, which that OU game is going to be insane because they haven't played in a while and they're rivals. And then Alabama's Alabama, but whenever I made my first SEC predictions, I had them playing Texas in the SEC championship, and just the way that they're playing right now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think Brady Cook's doing enough because he's very consistent, getting like 240, 250. But I don't know. But still, I mean, they're still going to be top 10 or, close to that by the time that game actually comes around. But man, that would be just so cool to have Tennessee. I think the last time that Arkansas had a game day come in, it was against Tennessee, wasn't it?
That sounds right.
I mean, it's like 20-something years ago, and I was young, but maybe not 20, 15. I'll look. But yeah, no, it would just be crazy, man, just to have that kind of hype here. They had SEC the SEC pregame show come to Arkansas for the Texas game a few years ago, and that was awesome. Just imagine how great having College Game Day coming back to Fayetteville, having that national exposure, and then if you go in and beat Tennessee, which I was surprised how good Oklahoma's defense stopped them. 25 points, the whole that offense, 25 points, kind of crazy. But on the other hand, they beat the crap out of North Carolina State, and then Clemson did the exact same thing to them. And I don't think Clemson has nearly the firepower that Tennessee did, or at least I didn't think that. So is Tennessee a little bit, fool's gold, or are they actually legit? Their defense is legit for sure, but I don't know.
So to your point, you're right there. The last time that College Game Day was at Arkansas, 2006 versus Tennessee.
Almost 20. Yeah, so 18 years ago. Man, that would be so cool.
Yeah. So it would be interesting. Like we said, I don't want to look too far ahead. I was about to say get through this weekend, especially because this weekend will be, at least for the time being, the last matchup in Jerry World before it switches back to a home and home.
Yeah, and man, I'd like to see Arkansas play in Kyle Field. because I mean, whenever they did it for the COVID year, there was hardly anybody there. You didn't get everything, the whole experience. But just having that series go back and forth, I think it's going to be much better than being in Arlington.
I agree.
That crazy, stupid game every year. I hate it. I'm dreading this week, by the way.
I get that. And so kind of looking ahead a little bit, question, does Bobby P pull out all the stops against A&M? You got to think that's got to be a game he wants the most on the schedule after, being there last year, getting told you're the offense coordinator, it's your offense, but wait, you've got to use my lingo, my still kind of my, in a sense, my playbook. So this, and it's completely different staff and everything like that. But, is this a game that kind of he has some extra motivation to win?
I think he will. I think it would be more motivation if Fisher were still there. But I don't necessarily think he has a whole lot of emotional ties to the university as much. But that is still a good point. Well, whenever you say pull out all the steps, what do you mean by that? Are you saying he's going to try and get flashy and try to do maybe trick plays and stuff? Well, he did that against Auburn, and they just crashed and burned. Whatever he did, Auburn came back with it, right? And Auburn's defensive coordinator was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M last year. So maybe he saw that coming. He knew his philosophy on that, like the cowboy go get 'em plays or whatever they're called. That's what that 4th and 1 play was going to be. And Quentin Jackson just whiffed on that block, which if he wouldn't have whiffed, I'm pretty sure they had, what's his name? Luke Hawgs going down the seam. That would have been pretty wide open. But still, maybe he knew a little bit more about that. And that's why none of those trick plays worked. That's why none of those gotcha plays worked. So maybe he can have a little bit better time against Texas A&M, and maybe do that NCAA or that college football play that everybody loves doing with Arkansas, the
reverse pass with
Jackson. Jackson. Man,
former
I don't know
quarterback,
why they
by the
haven't.
way.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, give that man the ball, see what he can do with his arm. Because they have to practice stuff like that, right? I mean, they can't just not utilize his arm. But I don't know. But I think he's already tried to pull out all this stuff, or not all this stuff, but a lot of stuff, and it just didn't work for him against.
I was about to say we'll see if he dives into that playbook a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Allison thinks he's going to pull out stops because it's her birthday. This is my wife. It is her birthday this week. A&M game always falls her birthday weekend, so happy early birthday. And hopefully Arkansas gets the win there. That would be fantastic to end the series at Jerry World on a win before it moves back to home and home. Shout out to Roger here. Greetings from Manchester, England. Got a Hog fan across the pond, if you will. So,
heck yeah.
But
I don't know anything about Premier League, but I hope your team's doing good if you follow that.
Right. But kind of as we round back to, yesterday's game, is there anything else to you from yesterday's game? I got one here that calls your attention. The one I've got is he missed one. At what point does Matthew Shipley get a shot for this field goal kicking job? Because this is the 3rd straight game we've seen a missed field goal. And I know I'm not the only one that's driving nuts. I mean, we brought in 2 transfers. Is Pittman not confident enough in Matthew Shipley? Or is Kyle Ramsey that just that much better in practice?
This is the thing that this is one of the things I wanted to bring up and talk about, because I mean, I'm sure the guy's a good guy, but you got to have those. Like, if Arkansas goes into halftime up, 10-0 instead of 7-0, I feel much better about that game. I'm sure that the offense probably feels a little bit better about the game, a little bit more confident. They don't feel like they have to go out there and take shots. Um, that's just something that you've got to do. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but I mean, in those types of situations, your first drive, you go all the way down there, get some points. There's I think the thing about momentum, and people don't like to talk about it because you can't quantify it, right? You can't measure it, but it's real. And especially in college athletics, it affects them a lot, right? I mean, these guys are just out of high school. Well, in case of like Monte Harrison, it's not, but a lot of these guys are just out of high school or a few years removed, and they're still going to have those emotional ties to the game. And they're not out there to play because it's business. That's what makes college football the best sport in the world, that in my opinion. So in things like that, especially on special teams, if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to have those swings of momentum. You're going to have that dip in the mindset, like, oh, we're fine, versus, oh, we need to go score because we haven't scored and we keep on messing up and we're going to lose this game if we don't score. That kind of stuff is going to mess with people. So I don't know, man. I feel like there needs to be another battle this week.
I was about to say, I agree. You look at it, he's 5 of 9 on the season, 55% from his field goal. He's 100% from extra points, but I mean, for the most part, any college kicker should not have any problems with the extra points. But you go 5 from 9 in the first 4 games of the season, you're 50%. And I mean, and his misses are from the 40 to 49 range. You look at field goals 20 to 29 yards, he's 1 of 1. Surprisingly enough, 50 plus, he's 1 of 1. That 40, anywhere from 40 to 49 yards, he's 3 of 7.
And it's not like he doesn't have the leg for it. It's just that accuracy. And he's always slightly off, you see it go and you don't know if it's about to go or if it's about to not go. And I don't know, man. It just gives me, it stresses me out watching him kick. And that's another thing is that
spoiled with having a guy named Cam Little on their roster the past 2 to 3 seasons. So
yeah, I don't talk about looking too far ahead. Their next guy, I think his name's hang on.
Are you talking about the other kicker on the roster?
No, he's gonna be here next year.
Oh yeah, I had that slotted up to talk about too. 5-star kicker Evan Knoll.
Evan Knoll. I knew his name was Knoll. I just couldn't remember his first name.
It's ironic that before the game yesterday, a video went on social media of him hitting a 61-yard field goal on Friday night to set a Mississippi high school record. And I believe you tweeted about it. I tweeted about it. I said, can we get this kid to enroll early, please?
Can he be there in Auburn by 2:00 tomorrow? Yeah, get him warmed up, get him out there. The cool thing about that kick, though,
Arkansas also –
that kick would have been good from like 67, 68 yards. It had so much leg underneath it. And, man, I miss Cam Little a lot.
I was about to say,
of all the people from last year's team, he's the one I miss the most.
I was about to say, and the only other thing, I don't know if the idea is trying to redshirt or what, but we do have a guy on our roster that was a 5-star kicker from last season in the recruiting class, Charlie Vondermeeden, that he was ranked as a 5-star, and I want to say the 12th ranked kicker in the country last year. Went to the Coles kicking camp. I don't know if we're just trying to redshirt him or if maybe he's just not performing practice. I don't know. But at what point, I don't want kicking to cost us a game. And in a sense, it almost has if you look back at the Oklahoma State game.
Yeah.
At what point is enough?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I really do think there needs to be another battle this week, which obviously I'm not a coach. I'm not there every day. I don't see it every day. But man,
it may be like we talked about with Taylor. Is he just performing so much better in practice, and then is some of that pressure is getting to him in the game? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. But at least you can make the excuse that, the pressure isn't necessarily as much from, second, third scout team or scout team for Taylor Green. So obviously he's going to look a little better than he is against Auburn's number ones. But with the kicker, it's just him and the field goal and the ball, So yeah, I don't know, man. That is really just rough because, like you said, we're just used to it. So I don't know. I really just want to say yes, give Matt Shipley a chance, but you got to be fair to him, right? You got to have him, give him a chance to win it back. And but the thing is, if he misses another one in game, put Matt Shipley in. I don't understand what's so hard about that.
How long are you going to let the leash be of him missing in games when, like you said, that maybe takes away a little bit of momentum? You go up 10-0 instead of 7. I mean, things like that. And then you look at, back at the Oklahoma State situation, don't want to dwell on it too much, but I mean, he missed 2 in that game, 1 in overtime, 1 in regulation. Who knows? That could have been the difference in the game.
Right. And like you said, but you can't put it all on him, right? I mean,
exactly.
Arkansas did way more than enough to lose that game other than just miss that field goal. But at the same time, I mean, it's just that's what you're there to do, And
it's like you got one job, kick the ball.
Right. But, I don't want to be the next person to go on College Game Day, make a fool out of myself in front of Pat McAfee. I mean, if there's a chance to get $100,000, I will gladly go do that. But I know it's way harder. I can't do it. But the thing is he can, right? He's a defensive or a D1 kicker. He should be able to do that. He should be able to be a little bit consistent. And if you can't, there's other people who are supposed to be able to take your job. But I just don't know how we go from having that type of kicker in Cam Little to having the problems that we do now. So it sucks.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. I agree 100%. It brings me back to the days before Cam Little. And we got used to having such a clutch guy.
Automatic. Yeah.
I was about to say, when he came out, there was no worry on was it going to be good or not.
Yeah.
No biggie.
And then there's the other thing. I mean, if you're relying on your kicker to be the guy, then you don't have a very good offense, right? So, I mean, there's a little bit of give and take, right, with it. Even on my fantasy team, the first year I ever played fantasy, I won my league. And the only reason I won is because I had Adrian Peterson, who broke the single game rushing record that year. It was back 2012, 2013, something like that. And then my kicker, I don't remember who it was, but he got me like double-digit points every single week. So, but if he were to go down, I would have not had a good team. And you can't have that in real football either. You can't be dependent on the kicker like Arkansas has for the last 2 or 3 years.
I was about to say, even if you go back and look at it, he transferred in from Abilene Christian. He was a redshirt senior there. He's a redshirt senior here this season. Last season for Abilene Christian, played 11 games, 14 of 15 on field goals, so only missed 1. He added 33 extra points. He went perfect 7 of 7 on attempts from 40 to 49 yards, those of which he is 3 of 7 this year, 4 or 5 on attempts of 50 plus, including a season best 55-yard field goal last season. So it's not like he hasn't been able to be accurate and hit these field goals. I
wonder if it's the lights. The lights are too bright, kind of thing.
Because previous to that, in 22, he was at Houston, where he played in 9 games, went 5 of 6 on field goals, 4 or 5 on attempts of 20 plus, good on and was good on 38 out of 39 extra point attempts. So yeah, like you said, you're playing primetime SEC D1 ball. Is this something where like you're in front of, because there's a lot more fans out there than when you're at Abilene Christian, significantly.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, is this something as far as like you said, pressure that you got to deal with? And I mean, who could say it's not the same for if Matthew Shipley gets in there? He comes over from Hawaii.
Right.
If you watch those
Right.
Hawaii games, there's hardly anybody
Right.
at the games. So who knows who's not to say he comes out there and does the same thing.
It's true. It really is. But the thing is, you don't know, right?
Right.
I don't know if you're a big as nerd as I am, but it's kind of like Schrodinger's cat. I don't know if you know physics at all, and I'm a little bit of a nerd.
Thank you, Big Bang Theory, for teaching me Schrodinger's cat.
You don't know if the cat's alive or dead until you open the box, so you can think of it as alive and dead at the same time. Anyway, that's what you can think of. You can think he's going to be just like Ramsey is, or he's going to be the next Cam Little. You don't know until you open that box. And you know what the thing is? If you open that box and he's worse, then you just go back, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit more do or die because that can win or lose a game, but that's why I feel like they should have gave them both kicks in the against UAB. Well, I mean, maybe not UAB. There's only 2 times they kicked a field goal. I guess they really didn't have a whole lot of chance in the gimme games. To
I was
get.
about to say, as far as in games this season, Ramsey's the only one that's officially attempted a field goal for Arkansas. Right. So Shipley hasn't even attempted. But I mean, if you go back and look at Hawaii last season, he punted and kicked for Hawaii last season. Appeared in all 13 games, 14 of 18 on field goal attempts with a season long of 51, which is 77.8%. So, I mean, very similar stats to what you're seeing from Ramsey. So, like you said, give him a shot. If he does better, great. If he doesn't, you've still got Ramsey that you can switch it back to. So,
yeah, I mean, if it keeps going, I mean, there's no harm in it because you're just going to have the same result. So, but yeah, I like I said, give him a chance to earn his spot back again. But I think there needs to be that battle.
I was about to say,
and if it is
there.
Right. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. You're going to see them go on 4th down a lot more. You're going to see them take shots a lot more, which one can lead to exciting football, right? And 2, it could lead to absolutely heartbreaking situations. So, and that's what college football is about, right? The highs and the lows. So, I'm cool with it either way. But yeah, like you said, that I'm missing Cam Little, man.
I agree. And, before we decide to get out of here, our buddy Virgil, your response will go, he said, Man City, best team in the world. So that's his team. There you go.
All right. Well, I'm going to go buy some Man City merch. Next time you see me, I'll wear it. You better be here, Virgil.
There we go. That supporting the Man City in Arkansas. Like we said, A&M on the schedule, big game this week. A game that it's always seems like it's one of those games that's rivalry-esque, that no matter how good or bad one team is, it always somehow ends up in a close game, some matchup, some form or fashion. And as much as I would say, hopefully we're not in for another one of those games, I would not be surprised if that's what we get yet again this year. Hopefully this season Arkansas can come out on top of this one. Seth and I will be back on Wednesday to break down the preview for that game. But at the end of the day, like you said at the beginning of the show, Arkansas's 3-1. A win's a win. No matter as ugly it was, they found a way to grind it out. I had a buddy say to me this morning, you think about it, this team, I think if this was the same team as last year, they probably don't win this game. So maybe there's a little bit more confidence in this team that they can finish a game compared to maybe some teams last year, which is fair. These tough fought games last year didn't seem to go our way at all. And so maybe this is a kind of turnaround that this team's needing.
So that's one of my biggest reasons why I love Taylor Green is because I feel like he's bought in. And as goofy as our chant is, the Woo Pig Suey, and I mean, it is. Okay, let's be honest with everybody. It's a little goofy, right? I love it. You love it. It's goofy. I don't care what you think, but it is. He takes it to a whole new level when he goes out there and every time he scores, he calls the Hogs. Like, I don't know why it gives me so much pride that he does that, but it does. And just to know that he is a Hog, right? He's not here necessarily just for NIL. He's here to go and play for us. And he's taken the embrace the Hog slogan to heart. And I feel like he does that a lot with his the offensive line does that a lot too. And that's why you see them, they're like extremely close. Those I'm not sure about Marion Harris, but at least the guys who came along with Taylor Green. So Carmona, Addison, and I don't know as much Blackstock, but at least those three, Green, Addison, Carmona, are like this, right? And that's what you want to see. And they really like the Hogs, and they really like Arkansas. And having that kind of mentality from your leaders is going to help you get through times that suck, right? There was a lot of times last year where you just saw body language that wasn't great. And I know Taylor Green supposedly got pulled because he was cramping, but it was probably also a little bit just to get him to calm down.
Well, I was about to say, you heard Pittman say, he was cramping, but also, it was good to get him out of the game, let him take a breath, kind of refocus, and then put him back in the game.
Yeah, and whenever they panned over to him after the first snap, he's not sitting on the bench pouting about it. He's up and he's standing with KJ Jackson, and they're talking about the game. They're paying attention. They're rooting for their team. So having someone that's mature like that who can push his guys past whatever adversity they're going through is going to be key whenever you have stupid games like the Texas A&M game is going to be next week, because I know it's going to be stupid because it is every year. So, and having someone who can lead you through that is going to be a big benefit to Arkansas.
I agree. I don't know why I continue to do it to myself, but I'll be down there for that game. I'm heading down for that game. So we'll see. As a Razorback fan, it's always stressful. Like you said, I don't know why I do it to myself, but I do. But on that note, like you mentioned, I mean, those three guys you just talked about, they were doing some pregame prayer before the game. If that's not close, I don't know what is. So, I think, like you said, when this team faces some adversity in the future, whether it be this week or other games down the line, that bond, and I feel like those guys, that's going to come in big down the stretch. When you have that much confidence and connection with somebody that they got your back. So,
right. And the thing is, I don't want to get too far because I know we're like an hour and 9 minutes now, but I feel like from what I've seen of Taylor Green, he's got that offensive lineman heart, right? He's very humble as far as I can tell, except with his guys. He'll talk crap with them, but that's what offensive linemen do. They're there to work, put their bodies on the line and help get the team to where they are. I think that's why he has that relationship with his offensive line. And having a quarterback with that mentality instead of, the stereotypical popular dude at school who gets all the girls and whatnot, and thinks he's better than what he is. Having that kind of mindset is just really cool to see. And I'm really hoping that he gets a little bit more clean, right? I really do hope he gets just for him, not only for Arkansas, but just for him.
I agree.
Really
yeah. And to clarify, that was post game, not pregame, that they took that moment together, like you said. But it's glad to see. But with that, Arkansas gets the win, moves to 3-1 on the season, and is headed to Jerry World to take on the Texas A&M Aggies this week. Like I said earlier, Seth and I will be back on Wednesday to break down the preview for that game and to update you on any other Razorback news going on in Razorback Nation. And until then, we'll see you later.